What happens when the divine speaks and you're the only one who hears it? Welcome to The Call, the podcast where we dive deep into the mysterious and often misunderstood experience of being called by God. Whether you're wrestling with a sense of purpose, navigating a spiritual awakening, or questioning if what you're feeling is real, you're not alone. In this podcast, we explore the obscurities of the divine calling, the isolation, the doubt, the strange timing, and the often inconvenient demands of sacred purpose. We'll speak with thinkers, believers, skeptics, and storytellers who wrestled with the weight of being chosen or feeling like they have. Because a calling isn't always clear, it's not always glorious, and it doesn't always come with a set of instructions. So lean in. This is not just about faith, it's about the human experience of being summoned by something greater. When the world stays silent, but your soul is on fire. Welcome to The Call. Welcome once again to our podcast entitled The Called. I'm Ken. This is Elijah and Elijah. Ken and Elijah. I'm gonna get it together, y'all, today. And we are still grazing upon or discussing, if you will, um, an age-old question or saying. What does it mean to be called? In our previous episode, we began to delve into and talk about and um, challenge the jaded perspectives concerning the call and the loneliness. And we're going to continue to delve into that a little bit deeper as we found it befitting to do so, because loneliness is it's real, right? To simply put, it's real. It's something that happens. It's something that must happen because because we talked about and learned in our previous episode that it's a pulling away. It's a being drawn away from our own desires. It's a time of cultivation. It's a time of being developed. It's a time of denying our own self. It's a time of impartation. It's a time of all these great things, but then there's also a time that, like, we just have to die. We have to die to our own self, our own thoughts, our own ideas, old systems, past bad behaviors, and the list goes on. It's a time to learn new doctrine, new philosophy, new ways. It's our time to not just be reintroduced to God in a um, in a more infinite way, but in a more relational way, so that we can carry out what it is that He has assigned and mandated on our life. And so, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right in, since we had such a profound and impactful foundation laid by our very own Elijah. And all I did was come in and, like, put a little icing on the cake. And so I'm excited to, as always, not just talk, but in our talking, like, I'm learning as well too. I'm seeing myself. Because the word is a mirror, but also because we've had similar experiences that not just brought us together, but that keeps us together. And so it is with great joy that I introduce my ace in the hole, my longtime friend, somebody that's very near and dear to my heart. And I believe that he has and possesses the voice to speak to generations in ages to come. So much depth, so much wisdom, so much knowledge, so much transparency. Because I don't know about you, but I cannot listen to anyone that's not transparent. And this, every time this man speaks, It is a moment of enlightenment through the transparency of his own life, the ups and the downs that has allowed him to transcend and continue to transcend and rise above every trial, test, tribulation through his contemplative thinking, through his critical thinking. And it is in the uh, awakening of his conscious mind that he awakens others. And so, welcome, co-host Elijah. Man. All right.
Wow, that was I don't think I've ever been introduced like that. So that's hey man, the things they gotta do. Um,
Yes, indeed.
like I always say, I'm grateful to be here, man. Excited about just the opportunity to be able to share, offer a different perspective, and my prayer, my desire is that somebody is blessed and somebody grows, and at the end of the day, that's all it's about is
Hmm.
impacting and helping to facilitate what could be necessary for change for someone. So if there's something that I could possibly say that could help
Yeah.
do that, then to God be the glory. I'm cool.
Mm, that's awesome. So last week we started to expound upon loneliness as it relates to the call. And I don't want to harper on or sound like a yak back or like I'm stuck on repeat, but like loneliness is such a it's a sad affair. You know what I mean? It's a sad set of circumstances, but when we shift our perspective and when we gain understanding that loneliness is the breeding ground, the birthing ground, um, and the catalyst platform, however, the incubator, however you want to word it, for us to be thrusted into our calling. Um, One of the last things that you were grazing, one of the last principles that you were expounding upon was preparation, that we have to shift our focus from seeing it as loneliness and see it as preparation. And when we do that, we might can move along a little faster in this thing we like to call a season or time of loneliness. And so I know that one of the things that keeps me in the times of loneliness is one, um, like you said, the way I view it. And because I know that there's something coming next, it helps me embrace it. And we don't talk about that. We don't even get that. I've never got that. I never received that growing up, that there were seasons and times that of waiting and what to do in that waiting time, waiting season, prepare for the next, you know. And so um a few of the things that I had made mention of were some of the challenges that persist in that time, in that season. Um, and one, I think you talked about it just a little bit, is um, recognition. And you begin to expound upon how recognition is necessary um, because we as human, and I believe that God understands the futility in our mortal bodies, that he would give us not only hope, but that he would recognize our human efforts to bridge the gap in the humanity and the divinity coming together to fulfill, as you say, purpose. And so I think that's what the next one's going to be called. It's called Purpose. So I can't steal it because we co-host. So just know that you inspired the next one. Purpose. Um, and so I remember, and I'm gonna just jump right in, and then of course, you know, have your way, jump right in, because I'm just, you know, I feel like I'm just the filling or the icing sometimes, and you like the weight, you like the cake, the flour, the sugar, the eggs, and all this. So I'm just talking while you get wound up real quick. So I remember going through seasons and times of working behind the scenes, serving at ministries. I mean, breaking my back, and never receiving so much as a thank you. But now that I'm older, I've shifted my desire on whom I want recognition from, not the recognition of men, but the recognition of God. And so there are seasons in my life where I seek to hear from the Father, well done, thy good and faithful servant, and to give credit to your point. I believe it's needed because for me as a man, it fuels me. Um, because if I don't receive that recognition, my mind will say, am I doing it right? Am I in the right place? Maybe I should be doing. That's just the way my mind works. Your mind and other people's mind may go to something else, but my mind will start to wonder, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing this right? Should I be here? Did I make the right decision? Even though I know that I'm stepping and walking where the Lord has told me to, but when I don't hear nothing, because it's not as much as I need to receive something like monetary gains, but I need to hear, all right, good job, keep up the good work. And I remember being younger in the faith, I needed to hear it all the time. As I gotten older and more mature, once or twice a year is good enough for me, and as long as I hear it, I need some fuel. I need something that's going to push me and that's going to give me the energy, that's going to give me the confirmation, that's going to give me the um just what we need for men, as a man, as a people, men and women alike, to keep on going.
Ready for your
And
first
so
question?
go ahead. Come
This
on
your
with it.
first. This your first question.
You see, I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. Um, this is something that I'm gonna assign this to believers, but human beings can take this.
Hmm.
Um, when you break new ground and you do things that nobody's ever never done before, not in your family
Hmm.
and your lineage, they don't know what a good job look like.
Mm.
So how can they tell you you're doing a good job?
Yeah.
Sometimes, even in the ministry, you may not be doing a good job to them.
Mm.
Because if God has you building up and tearing down, who's to
Yeah.
say that person is on the right side of the building up or the tearing down?
Wow.
So why would they tell you good job?
Mm.
That's why it matters who you're looking for your recognition from.
Hmm.
Why? Because what we have to understand is, yes, we're very human. We're having a very human experience called life. We're
Hmm.
feeling and tasting and smelling and touching, and we're doing all of that. But if we're not armored with the proper perspective, what we feel like we're not getting can break us or distract us, and we never wind up doing what we should be doing. That's why it
Mm.
matters who. Because when you're worried about God being glorified, he's going to send
Hmm.
the person to say good job
Yeah.
because he already knows what you have need of. So you got to always think
Mm.
about when I may not hear it from you. Okay,
Hmm.
you may not say now. God will make it so you got to say it later. So I can't trip on you.
Mm.
What y'all refuse to see as good now, I can't trip on you because I don't know what you're going through that keeps you from being able to see the good that I know God has put in me. I can't trip on
Mm.
you. I'm gonna let
Yeah.
God reward me. That's why he says what? You you do what you do in private, God will reward you openly.
Hmm.
We got to let we got to learn as believers, man. We got to learn how to wait till God rewards us openly and stop worrying about people.
Mm.
See, we keep wanting people to reward us for the work we did in private, and that goes against scripture.
Wow.
I've been changing, going. So what? Why would they care? They're living their own lives that they living and all that other stuff going on. Stop worrying about people.
Hmm.
If you know you've been on your ground in private doing what you know God has told you to do, why are you worried about if the next man going to say, you know what, you did a good. I like how you handled that situation, dog. Why are you waiting for that?
Mm.
God is going to reward you openly. That's fool's gold to even be thinking that somebody's going to see the work you did in you and yourself, that you took the time
Hmm.
to better yourself, and that they're going to say, good job. That's foolish.
Mm.
Because what that's saying is they have the capacity to see that you've bettered yourself
Hmm.
and not and bypass all the stuff they got going on in them. Because you got to remember, who are you around? See, we don't got the capacity to judge the hearts and the minds of men. Only God does.
Hmm.
Holy Spirit to give us some insight here and there. But God, at the end of the day, everybody that you think is saying, Lord, Lord, ain't saying, Lord, Lord. You think that only
Mm.
applies to judgment?
Mm.
No, that applies to you every day. Everybody that's
That's
smiling ain't
good.
smiling.
Hmm.
Everybody that's crying ain't crying. So we got to understand, listen, we can't be worried about people because people will trip you up. That's why more often than not, if I'm going to do something, I'm never concerned about if they're going to say good job. And primarily because if I had to put my hands on it, I'm going to do a good job anyway. That's
Hmm.
just how God is wired. If my hands touch it,
Yeah.
it it got to be right. So I don't need you to tell me that.
Hmm.
And that's how we have to get to, I don't need you to tell me that. It's unnecessary because I know God has put the things in me for excellence. So when you ask me to do it, that means you already telling me you know you
Yeah.
need it done and you need it done with excellence. When you ask
Hmm.
me to do it, and that's that kingdom mindset, that's that mindset that excellence mindset. If they ask you to do it 9 times out of 10, they already know that you were capable. Because who's asking somebody that's not capable?
Right.
That's how that's why the proper perspective will help us move some unnecessary emotional baggage out the way.
Mm.
Because yeah, the easy thing, yeah, man, good job, bro. You did good. I mean, it's cool that you said that, but I ain't tripping.
Hmm.
I ain't tripping. Because you might feel like I did a good job today, and I might do the same job. You might the same way. You might say I did a bad job tomorrow. I can't get caught up on people. My father told me a long time ago. When my parents taught me some excellent lessons, and I'll probably bring them up every now and again. My father taught me a
Hmm.
long time ago. People are trivial. They one way one day, another way the next day. You can't get caught in them because if you
Hmm.
get caught in them, they'll have you bouncing all over the place. You can't get caught in people. You can have in your heart and your mind to want to do right by people,
Hmm.
and yes, it's right to want people to do right by you. Don't expect people to do right by you. To have an expectation, when you begin to put expectations on people, because we're human beings, we are not even setting them up to fail. You're setting yourself up to have an experience that you just don't need. I think everybody that probably listened to this podcast or in life period that just brushed up against this podcast has lived enough life to know it probably ain't a good idea to expect things out of people. Because
Hmm.
more often than not, they probably gonna drop the ball. Because and it's crazy. It's crazy because I'm looking at my notes from my last study. and
Mm-hmm.
you asked the question. Um, it's funny how I'm about to tie this into that. Your first question was, what habits are you building in private? And
Mm-hmm.
I had listed some other stuff. I listed like one, two, three. I listed about four different things that I thought was very pertinent. But at the last minute, I wrote having proper relationships with people on the very top of all that.
Mm.
Having proper relationships with people, or more so, putting people in their proper place when it comes to yourself and purpose. People have a
Mm-hmm.
proper place. It's the
Mm.
main reason why God called Abram from his family. It is the main reason why Christ had the 12 he had and ain't nobody else. It's the main reason why Elijah operate. It's because people have a particular place.
Mm.
And God will use the tool of what we consider to be loneliness to put people in their proper place so that you can learn how to have proper relationships with people.
Mm. That's good.
And I'm going to go a step further and say people ain't always the problem. It be us.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes the people just people. They minding their own business doing what they're doing. We sometimes got some of that foolishness in us. And that
Yeah.
call to loneliness is God pulling that stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us like to give a little too much and not always
Yeah.
in the right ways.
Right.
Some of us like to love a little too much, not all in the ways that can be subverted,
Mm-hmm.
in the ways where confusion can come in. Some of us,
Mm-hmm.
we get too a little, some of us don't communicate as much as we should, or we don't say
Mm-hmm.
what we should say. Opens the door for confusion, for disillusionment.
Mm-hmm.
So the separation sometimes and the putting people in their proper place is not necessarily because of the people,
Mm-hmm.
it be because of us. Because he has to get us in a place where we speak one thing. Our yea is yea and our nay is nay.
Mm-hmm.
Because we might be double mouthed sometimes. We all that's part of that. The loneliness, that's why the preparation part is so real. The loneliness ain't just because all the people might get you. No, you might get the people if you're not where you need to be. That's
Mm.
why it's just so important for the perspective to to be where it needs to be because A, you got to be able to accept I'm in this place. And then the very next thing you have to ask yourself, okay, why am I here? Why is it that God chose to use this concerning me? He
Mm.
could have did a multitude of things. He chose to pull me from all of that to bring me to this place here. That's the responsible way of looking at it. That's the, especially as we get older and now
Mm-hmm.
walking and we've gained some level of understanding because we should be maturing, we should be growing. God, how I wound up in this space? And we got to ask those questions. But I go back to my previous point for a hot second, just because I believe it's just so relevant. And I believe if you undermine it, you're doing yourself a severe disservice. While the ministry is for the people, you have to make sure that you're where you need to be as a human being
Mm-hmm.
concerning the people. That means your mental health needs to be where it's at. Your spiritual
Yeah.
well-being needs to be where it's at. Your emotional health needs to be where it's at. Why? Because if your job is to help, you can't do you can't come in there and supposed to be helping, but you're creating problems
Mm-hmm.
because you may be too boisterous. You may be too vocal. There's some things that need to be said, some things don't need to be said. You may not be boisterous enough. All these things, that's how God teaches us these things.
Yeah.
Let me show you this. Let me get you over here. Let me show you this because that hurt. That didn't feel good. Okay,
Hmm.
come over here. Let me talk to you in my office. Now, this is what it is. We got to understand. That's why something may happen and it feels like the loneliness comes. Man, everybody seems like they just scattered. Don't worry about that. Because if he allowed them to scatter, guess what he can do? He can call them back. That's why it can't matter who you get your recognition from. It can't be caught on people. That's why it got to be God first. And if a man come along and say, hey, you did a good job, so be it. Because if something happens and the people scatter, you need to be in a place where my mistake and all, and I'm talking to myself on this one, my mistake and all, he'll draw 'em. Because guess what God will do? He'll put the words in your mouth to do the drawing.
Hmm.
That's why it matters that the man or woman of God, guess what you have to be? You have to be open-minded in what you consider to be your purpose or your call when it comes to God and the way
Yeah.
upon which you'll complete a thing. Because if you say, well, I know I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z, God is going to purposely tear that down
Hmm.
so that you get back into a seat of humility. All right, God, how am I supposed? I know what I would like to do, but what do you need me to do?
Hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, if you're really functioning from a place of humility, you'll find that what's in you and how God plans on using you is not that far apart.
Yeah.
It may need to be tweaked a little bit here and there, but you'll find that you all are not that far apart. You just got to
Hmm.
and we got to keep in mind like this. And I don't even know where this is coming from right now. If I'm in agreement with God, regardless of what phase of my purpose that I'm going through,
Hmm.
if I'm in agreement with God, at the end of the day, God has called me, we'll hypothetically say, to preach for this particular
Hmm.
point I'm about to make. If I get in agreement with God and I'm doing the things of God, we got to think about it like this. God ain't taking no losses. The things of God are going to bear fruit. The smartest thing I could ever do is get in agreement with God. That way, God's purpose is the shield for me. So
Hmm.
whether it feels like it's working or not, I'm not doing what I wanted to do. I'm doing what God wanted to do. It got to bear fruit. It has no choice.
Hmm.
It has to. That's why the agreement is so important. That's why the alignment is so important because it's not so much that I'm doing what I want. If God's word is to go out, and the Bible says what? It shall not return void.
Hmm.
That means when I speak the words of God, something got to transpire.
Hmm.
I can't let man say whether it's good or bad. Why? The Bible says man's heart is deceitfully wicked. Above all things, who can know it? So I can't get caught up with if a man to say that's a good job or not. I can't. Because what God calls good, man to say is
Hmm.
bad. Look at the time we're living in. People can say what they
Yeah.
want. We got to really keep it 1,000 when it gets down to it. We keep acting like what's going on in this world is built around the people of God. It is not.
Hmm.
This is not a world that in truth really honors God. It's not. The systems and things that are in place are not. Do we make it and we survive? Yes, because God gonna keep us. But the people of God ain't necessarily in mind when it comes to this planet. And if
That's
anybody
right.
thinks so, they tripping.
Hmm. That's right.
So that's why we gotta be careful when we're worried about I need to hear a good job and you walking with God because you might not never hear that. He
Hmm.
protects you by saying, I'm doing the will of my father. That way you can't break me by not telling me I did good because my focus is where it needs to be. You can't
Mm-hmm.
hurt me with that. Because see, if man know they can affect you with that, guess what they'll do? They'll impact you. Because that's just how it goes. And that's the thing with believers sometimes we get saved and we act like we naive and we get to expecting some things that just don't make sense. No.
Mm-hmm.
Have your mind on what? Things above, not on things of the earth. There's a reason for that. Because if my mind is where God and my Father is, my heart will be also. You can't touch my
Mm-hmm.
heart if my heart is with the Father. You can't never not tell me good job and it bother me.
Yeah.
If I'm wearing the right perspective, if I'm wearing the right
Mm-hmm.
heart set, you can't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the people of God got to get to. You can't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're bothering me because I'm offering something to you that I shouldn't be,
Mm.
that means I have something out there that I shouldn't. And these are the conversations that happen in that private time that we call loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
It's God. Let me put that arm on there because that's hanging out. The enemy shooting that fiery dart. That's how you got to hold your shield, fam. Your body a little different. You got a little more junk in the trunk. You got to hold like that.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the dart's coming. The nouns are coming. And if your perspective isn't placed in the right place, guess what's going to happen? You are going to waste up to the point of years trying to get back right. Especially in a time as now where we're so fragile.
Mm-hmm.
We're so emotionally distraught.
Mm-hmm.
You waste the time. This is why the man and the woman of God has to be so careful. Because along with other things I put with having proper relationships with people, I put discipline, focus, and
Mm-hmm.
I already touched on open-mindedness. But the most important thing to me um, is the capacity to be objective.
Mm.
Because see, objectivity allows you to call it what God says it is. Where the world is saying I'm lonely, God is saying I'm getting
Facts.
you ready.
Facts.
Why? Because objectivity will tell me, and when I'm armed properly with it, my capacity to be objective tells me, let me strip away how I feel so I can speak the truth about a thing. Because that's what we can't lose. And that's what sometimes emotionalism, well, that's what we got to be careful
Mm-hmm.
with emotionalism in the spirit. Because
Yeah.
emotionalism will keep us from being able to speak the truth.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to talking about, oh, how I feel. And
Mm-hmm.
how you feel and the truth, two different things. More
Mm-hmm.
often than not, they're not the same thing.
Absolutely.
And we found that early on when your favorite place in the garden. Because what did
Mm-hmm.
Adam do? Adam didn't speak the truth.
Yeah.
He spoke how he felt, his fear. If Adam would have spoke
That's
the
right.
truth, that's a paradigm shifting moment. If he'd have spoke the truth, God deals differently, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And I believe it because when you go throughout scripture, when the truth is laid out, God deals differently.
Yeah.
Adam spoke his fear, God had to move differently.
Mm.
This is why what I'm saying, I'm in the book. I know I am. We have to be careful of people and recognition of somebody saying, hey, you did good.
Mm-hmm.
Is it nice? Yes. Does it feel good? Sure.
Yeah.
But the enemy will use that thing as a way to break our mind, heart, and our spirit. And it will take years sometimes for us to put all that stuff back together. I know
Yeah.
from personal experience.
Yeah.
It takes a while to get up off that particular mat.
Mm.
It takes a while. That's why it matters. That's why he says, what? Don't store the stuff up down here, man.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because if you store it up down here, guess who's down here?
Mm.
Bible said the enemy walking around like a roaring lion, Superman made a vow. He ain't walking around heaven doing that, bro. He down here. So if you store it up down here, it's kind of under the control of who? If
Mm.
you're not in the proper place. See,
That's
that
right.
conversation really don't get had like talk about.
Mm.
We gotta. That's why you can't store it down here. Because if I store my desires, my hopes, my dreams, I store that stuff down here with people that don't honor God. Guess what
Mm.
they all can ever do with it? Especially if my dreams and my desires is to honor God. And I'm able to
Mhm.
recognize this world really don't honor God. What is they going to do with my hopes and my dreams?
Mm.
What fruit could my hopes and my dreams possibly do if I store it all on this planet and I don't keep it with
Mhm.
God who can bring it, who has the power and the capacity for that not to return back void?
Mhm.
We got to bear in mind that everything is always with the enemy. It's about perversion, subversion, and circumvention. If I can get him to think he's doing the right thing, but it's actually the wrong way, I got him.
Mhm. Yeah.
I got him. So let me, yeah, he working hard. He working hard for Jesus. But I'm
Mm.
going to just hit that button because he got to hear somebody say good job. And he ain't going to never hear it.
Mhm.
Imagine the turmoil that goes on in the person. Imagine what that does when that's in you from a child. You need to hear somebody tell you you did good and you 40 years old and you still ain't heard it.
Mm.
Imagine where you and God at for real.
Mm.
That's why you can't worry about them. People are great, love them, but you can't let it be up on you like that.
Yeah.
And I know you ain't mean for us to get here like this, but
Mm.
it got there. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. That's good because it takes me to because you were talking about combating things, and I was just sitting here thinking how oftentimes loneliness can be a sign of failure, or not getting recognition can be a sign of failure, especially to a man, or can be a point of weakness. Um, and on the on and for the I'll say for the believer, for the person, it can be seen as, and for the person it can be seen as a lack of faith, because in hindsight, as you said, why would you expect to receive anything down here when your reward is with him? And so it's such a strong narrative.
Don't drive past that. You gotta spend some time right there, bro. Don't That's a heck of a point you made that every day we lose perspective on. You need to sit there
Hmm.
for a minute. Talk
Yeah.
about that for a second. Because we make that mistake every day.
Hmm. We do. And hold on. So I'm gonna let you expound upon it, because I've told you I'm just the icing. It- I'm just the icing. But what I wanted to bring this thought um to a close, and then we can bounce back off that, because it is, and I think I bypass it sometimes, and I have to remember our audience is at different stages and phases, and while we're more mature and developed in certain areas, and while they're more, we do tend to pass. So I appreciate that, um because it is something to not just give, but to look into deeper, so that for the person that is unable to recognize it, they can recognize it. Because you cannot change anything if you're not aware of it, and we know if nothing changes, nothing changes. Um, but what was I going to say? Well, we'll just go back to what you were saying. Well, to emphasizing that, because I am at loss right now for a moment. I think, I believe. Well, let me speak for myself from these three. Um, points, and I'll do failure, the weakness, and then the lack of faith. Because we are conditioned from such a young age with this reward system. I heard Maya Angelou, not I heard her, as if I was present because I was not present, but I was rewatching an interview on Dr. Maya Angelou when she corrected a woman, a young lady, by addressing her by her first name. And so another adult came and said, "I'm so glad you did that because this generation does not have this." And she said, "No." So she ended up correct. Dr. Maya Angelou ended up correcting the woman as well too with this. And she said, "It is not their. It is not that they're wrong. It is that we have not given it to them." And sometimes what happens is we don't get things because we're overcompensated in some areas. Back to the point. Growing up, we are reared predominantly through the reward system. And it is a feeble attempt that most of the time creates a contradiction and creates a static within the realities and up into our adulthood. And what it does is it births bad philosophy, it births bad theology, and it births bad patterns and expectations. And then for us that are spiritual, you get into the word and you realize, well, why should we be expecting to receive anything from man, from woman, from anything? If my wife never does anything for me, I still have a responsibility to do this, this, this. If my wife cheats on me, and my wife does not do that, let me add that as a disclaimer. She is a wonderful woman. She is but anyway, she's all that for me. Um, and what happens is that we start raising up this, and we start giving this philosophy. And so for myself, I can say that growing up, that was my school of thought because that was what I was reared into. And so when you get into adulthood, nobody tells you that nobody's going to pat you on the back all the time anymore. And nobody's going to do this and nobody's going to do that. And so then it becomes a weakness. And it causes and births this feebleness where honestly, I became an attention whore, unbeknownst to myself. I didn't even realize I was seeking validation. I was living my life through the eyes of others, all because I did not get recognition, all because I sought recognition from people that honestly really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. And it's not that people don't matter to us. We have relationships and those people do matter to us. But what can you give me, honestly, that I cannot give myself? Because you can't give me the things that God can give me. So it is in this evolution. And it was through that evolution that in that weakness I had to become strong. And then, but so to the point of and then of course that weakness can be when that weakness is exposed, it can be preyed upon, and then it can be what's the word that starts with an E? Exploited by people, places, and things. And so I remember many years ago, I wrote a poem that actually ended up liberating me. And it was just very simple. And it just says, "I'm no longer living my life through the lenses of others. There was a whole bunch of different things, but it was, I'm no longer living my life through the lenses of others. I'm no longer seeking this validation. I'm no longer seeking this. I'm no longer seeking that." And we have to teach this. And while it is important to teach children that it's good to do good, we have to teach them that when you do good, you're not going to always get a reward, that it's just good to do good. It's good to serve the Lord. And so, we still are a culture and a people that's going to have award. I mean, I've never seen so many award shows, and I'm kind of rambling right now, but it just reminded me, and it gets under my skin. I don't watch award shows and things like that, but we have created all of these platforms for men and women to be recognized for things that you're supposed to be honestly freely given. You know what I mean? And the reality of it is these industries have pimped them out, slutted them out, and then given them award. And in reality, you receive an award for being a pimp or a slut or a whore. Excuse my language, but it is what it is. And but that's the world that we live in. That's the culture. That's the philosophy that we've come under, or that the world is under, as you so eloquently said. But I'll stop right there before I get into the lack of faith. Because I go ahead.
I mean, you were rolling. Hey, man, you was rolling. You know, I can sit here and listen too. Man, my God, you hit some points. You hit some points. I'll be having to be careful because I can roll on some stuff. But I'll say this. First and foremost, people matter. People are important. I don't want nobody hearing this confusing that point.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and I said in the last show that I would share some of the truths that my mom and my daddy shared with me at a young age. And one of the greatest lessons my mama ever taught me, and I share this on a regular basis, and it is this: don't nobody got to do nothing for you. So you shouldn't expect nothing from nobody. And when she gave me that, not that I still didn't wrestle with it at times, but more often than not, she made me bulletproof from expecting people and they failing me. She kind of made me bulletproof from that because I never believed that somebody's supposed to do anything for me. I never had to worry about, oh man, such and such. I never thought you was going to do it no way. Now, I am when people do for me, I am surprised. I may not necessarily show it, but I'd be like, wow, they did that. That's all right. I've never really been in too many places where I expect anything out of anyone. If by chance that I was able to set somebody's life in a way to where they would bear me in mind and want to do me a service, like I said, I am surprised. And I say that to say we're in a time and in a place now where, because of social media, people have the capacity to have a level of reach that is absolutely ridiculous. They can impact these little ones at such a young age. And I'm going to tell you how by using one of the points that you brought up. The reward system. It was created to basically, you know what? It's supposed to be the salve for the hard work that you did to make you feel better about it. The reward system never works. The reason why the reward system never works is because what I may want for a reward for my labor, you may not want for a reward for your labor. You may want something else. So immediately upon its inception is doomed for failure. Why? Because at its impetus, there's room for discontentment. Because I may not want what you want for a reward. You may feel like $100 is enough. I may feel like $200 is enough.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get somebody to feel like it got to be $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And we might just be talking about taking the trash out. So the reward system is meant to create a level of discontentment.
Mm.
And when people take it and apply it, why? It just seems like nobody's satisfied because nobody's meant to be satisfied by it.
Mm-hmm. That's
What
good.
it's meant to do
Wow.
is get you to not be focused on the work that you're putting in, but to be trying to figure out how do I get to the thing that I say I want,
Mm.
or to get to what I believe is the reward that I want. That's how you come in here now. People are doing all this weird stuff, worshiping this and doing that,
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to get to what they believe is the reward that they want for whatever service they believe they're doing. The reward
Mm.
system does not work. The reward system is the world's low attempt
Mm-hmm.
at blessing people as
Wow.
God does, if we want to really go there with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's so many different problems with it.
Mm.
That's why nobody seems satisfied. That's
Mm-hmm.
why nobody seems like they're getting what they need, because it was never assigned to address need.
Mm.
It's all about, I'm going to show them this. And because I'm showing them this, or that there's a
Mm-hmm.
possibility to get more, they'll do X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scam.
Yeah.
And what's so crazy with it, it's become a necessary scam, because now
Mm. Wow.
you required some things. You made some acquisitions. So
Mm.
now I got to play into it. So now now watch it. Now watch out now.
Mm-hmm.
My dependency is supposed to be on God,
Mm-hmm.
but because I got caught up in this scam, my dependency now becomes on the system.
Mm.
I won't looking to go there, but we're here now.
That's good. That's good. Built a whole
We
infrastructure off of this.
This is why the man or woman of God got your
Mm-hmm.
perspective got to be armed in the right way, because you
Mm.
got to know this is a system that's meant to imitate what
Mm-hmm.
God does. And why would I say it's meant to imitate? I'll go a step further. The Bible says what? All the blessings and amen, they've already been promised to you.
Mm-hmm.
It requires you to be at a certain place, but those things are already promised to you.
Mm.
Ain't nothing you really got to do. How is it for this system to work? I got to work so hard and receive so little.
Come on now.
This is where we have to be mindful at. I don't know if you can hear me at all.
I can hear you.
You came out good. This is where we have to be careful at, because we wind up dropping the ball there,
Mm-hmm.
because we get caught in the varying systems. It ain't just the reward system. We got a system now. Basically, you got people everywhere telling us how to feel and how to think about any and everything.
Absolutely.
We've raised up a generation that, I ain't gonna say all of them, but a lot of them don't have an original thought in their body. That's not by accident, that's by design.
Come on.
Because if you're not thinking for yourself, that means you're not hearing the Spirit of God when it's calling for you.
Mm.
Remember, the enemy's coming to circumvent, subvert, subdue, pervert. So if I already got something speaking to you, ain't no room for the Spirit of God.
Right, right.
That's why the Bible says what? When you draw those spirits out, you got to put something in its place.
You got to put something there.
So, yeah, I'm over here and God has secluded me over here to cover me and keep me. But if I'm not preparing, what? Doing the things that's necessary to maintain my consecration,
Guess what? Something else going in its place. Whatever fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, it goes in its place.
Yeah.
It's dressed up as a saved and sanctified believer.
Mm.
But when push came to shove, what did Adam do?
Mm.
He spoke his fear and his doubt. When push come to shove for us as believers, guess what we're going to do? We're going to speak our fear and our doubt, not necessarily through our words, but through our actions.
Mm-hmm.
That's how God's going to be able to say, listen, you say, Lord, Lord, but your heart has been far from me.
Your heart far away. Yeah.
They ain't really trying to talk about it. But that's what happens when we get worried about, I need to hear the good job, or I need the recognition, or you don't need none of that, because at the end of the day, we are where we're supposed to be. And this is why people got to study. If I humble myself in the sight of the Lord in due season, he'll do what? Lift me up. My concern is supposed to be making sure I'm where I need to be in the sight of the Lord. So see, the enemy crazy, and I ain't even supposed to be here. It's all about getting us to miss our due season.
Mm.
Because if due season never come, I don't get lifted up because I miss it. Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm concerned about people, places, and things. I'm worried about the systems. I'm worried about what's not being done. I've allowed the system to create so much discontentment in me. I'm completely dissatisfied with God. So now there's proximity between me and God.
Mm.
And my season is next week.
Mm.
I don't know that though.
Mm.
Because we got to think about it. Imagine the time we wasted in that place of discontentment, in our loneliness, and where I'm so dissatisfied with what I believe God has done, when God is, no, I got to put you over here because you've made a mess of things because you wanted to be God. Because I ain't going to fight with you. So even when it looked like you're not running into your season, I'm still doing you a service because I've still got you a way to cover you and to keep you and to bring you where you need to be. So you can still meet purpose. You might not meet it in your 30s, but when you get to 40, if you rock with me, it's right at the door.
It's right there.
Because the 25 years it took for you to trick this up, it's going to take me 10 to help you get it right because you ain't going to listen.
Right.
We're talking about the one that knows us from the end to the beginning. He built the thing. He knows how it works. But he also knows that thing in our chest is open to all type of suggestion. This is why the man or the woman of God, the human being, you can't get caught. You can't get strung up on if they okay with you. On if they seeing it like, no. Because guess what? If you don't get caught on the people, he'll send the people.
Yeah.
If you stop worrying about them, he'll send them. He'll send the person to say good job. He'll send the person that's excited to see you when you show up. He's going to send the person that's going to come help you. So you're not working as hard. But if you get concerned about the people, guess what? Instead of your faith being activated, discontentment activates. And guess what we do? We complain, we moan, we groan. We lose focus. Because now, guess what I'm trying to do? Because if I'm not speaking faith, I'm speaking fear. If I'm speaking fear, it's my natural instinct as a human being to try to do something to deal with that. So I'm either going to drink, drug, have sex, or do something I ain't got no business doing.
Right.
Because I'm on the podcast, we getting there. It's just how we going. We gonna go ahead and brush up against it. It's what it is.
Yeah.
You don't want to act like it's not that when it is. That's what happens. Because I get worried about the wrong thing. Because the enemy is concerned about subverting my thought process. I got to get him to think it's the right way, but he over here. I created that chasm between him and God.
Mm.
And it's so crazy because it's only until you look that God is over there, even though he's everywhere, but in yourself, you're so far.
Mm-hmm. So far.
God has the capacity to erase that in a word. But
Mm-hmm.
the work that we've done, we can distance ourselves. God
Mm-hmm.
can seem so far away because of how we
Yeah.
get to it, being concerned about the wrong things. That's why
Mm-hmm.
perspective is so important. That's why discipline, focus,
That's right.
objectivity, these things are important
Mm-hmm.
because they help set the framework for where we need to be when we're combating what we believe to be our loneliness. When God is saying,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm pulling you away so that you can be
Mm.
ready.
Mm.
I'm pulling you away so that you can meet greater purpose. Because if I let you stay there, you'll never move. And the problem is, what you don't know is that the people you so comfortable around need you to become who I need you to be so
Mm-hmm.
you can change their life.
Yeah.
Because just because we look good, that don't mean it is good.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know that. And this is why we gotta learn as human beings and as people and believers, listen, God is the only one that know it.
Yeah.
Everybody else running their mouth. They ain't talking about nothing. And that's just keeping it a whole brick. Everybody else is spinning, man. God is the only one that know it. So we're not
Mm.
making sure we're in the place where we're hearing, where our heart is soft towards his spirit, so we can get his leading. Our mind is open to his teaching, so we can get
Mm-hmm.
his wisdom. We spinning our wheels. And the process is going to take longer than it should.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Real quick, because something you said, well, a whole lot, but my mind is like poop right now. You reminded me that these seasons of loneliness can be self-induced because of the Lord having to undo some things or causing some things to work for our good. That's how we would say it in the church. You know, he'll make all things work. But the reality of it is that he's got to get us and sit us to the side because we've messed up so much by putting our hands on things, even after accepting the call, even while being on the potter's wheel. And so this thing, recognition, seeking recognition, and the infrastructure that the world has built to stroke the ego, to its feeble attempt, as you have profoundly declared, to bless us, has caused us to get into some things too. And I don't want to name any names, but there's a gospel, there's a music artist that sings gospel music, and I have been watching him, not very closely because it doesn't take a whole lot to honestly discern spirits, but I watched him become drunk with the wine of the world and drunk with the wine of praises and all these accolades and things like that from man. And it reminded me, I was joking with my wife and my family one day, and I said that because I'm not a person that likes recognition. I like to do what I do and get in and get out. I like to do the stuff behind the scenes, and so we have a standing joke with my wife because she likes feedback, and I would always tell her, "Babe, it doesn't matter if I don't say anything. Me eating it is enough." Because she just likes feedback. But she's also critical about herself. But I'm also conditioning her not to care what anybody thinks about her and to be your true 100% authentic self in Christ, regardless of what anybody say or think. And so, but what has happened is this infrastructure, because as you were speaking, I kept seeing an infrastructure. I mean, a huge, enormous infrastructure that has been built. And people are just getting in line, getting their shots, getting their feel goods, like you said, getting their high off of this thing. And this is where we're at. And so now God is having to undo things, old systems, old ideologies, thought processes, philosophies, perspectives, like you said, because it matters how you view this thing. And in all this unraveling, you're like, whoa, like I was under all this and my attention should have been on the things above. And what happened to the days where I just want to get to heaven? I just want to lay at his feet. Like we don't have those days anymore. And I believe that that's where God, not to turn this to, because we do want a relaxed environment, but it's poignant and pertinent to talk about, because in all that is said, like you said, we're sweeping and we're cleaning the house, but I want to make sure that we have an understanding that it is this one thing that we should be desiring like David. He says, one thing I've desired and that will I seek, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life and to be able to inquire in his temple. So that he's saying, this is the reward. This, for all that I'm doing, this is the only thing that I want out of all of this, is to be with him. It's to be in his presence, to not have his presence taken away from me. But we've traded the presence for so many other things. And I know we have so much more to say about this, but we're at our time. We're at our time, and I feel like we only got to like 1 of 7 points on today. But there's this was good for me. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but this really spoke to me in a myriad of ways, because oftentimes, I am such in a complete place of trust that it puts me in a place of ignorance. Watch this. I trust the hand of God so much so that I yield to the process, but I forget to extrapolate the delicacies of understanding and wisdom. And so, even in hearing all, I'm like, my God, God had to deliver me from that. He had to deliver me from being in that infrastructure, from being a person that seeks this, not even realizing that it's a perversion and that it's in direct contradiction, because the world has dressed it up so nice. Just being real. And because the flesh likes the way it feels to get to get something. And I'm like, as you're speaking, I'm just looking at like, God, you had to do all that? Yeah, I had to do all that. That's why I can't put you on a stage in front of 500,000 people yet, because I had to do that first. See, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to be in this place of loneliness that God's like, I got to deal with you so that you could be aware of you and your trifling self and the stuff you got going on with you. But that's all I want to say. I'm gonna get out the way so you can give your final thought. And we're gonna revisit this, of course, because there's so much more to expound upon.
It's a funny thing because, bro, you're talking and I was sitting here, and loneliness doesn't necessarily mean that you're away from people. Loneliness can be being devoid of greater purpose, or not you doing what you should be. That is a level of loneliness. That's why it's so important to have the right mindset, to be getting what is proper information so that you can grow. So, I mean, buckle up. I believe this is going to be a awesome conversation that we're going to have over these coming weeks. And God is going to be glorified. People, I believe people are going to be helped. And it's just the beginning.
I believe so as well. I'm excited. I feel like a can that's been shaken. Like I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic about, honestly, seeing myself as well, because this is helping me to move with a heightened level of intentionality and consciousness that comes from being conscious, that comes from being self-aware. Because it is one thing to be brought up out of something, but then to look at what he's brought you out of is a whole different, for me, has been a completely different awakening and revelation. And so I'm excited to continue to have the conversation, the difficult conversation. And I know we're going to use some verbiage that's going to ruffle some feathers. I know that people may not um, like the way it comes out, but the reality of it is the world can say it a certain way. That means that we need to say it in a way too that literally shocks the systems and in a diplomatic, love filled, but powerful way as well too. And so I just wanted to add that disclaimer that some may be offended by how strong and abrasive the truth is, but the reality of it is it is what it is. You know, you weren't saying nothing when you were listening to whatever you was listening to, and we ain't gotta go there, right? But as always, it is always a time when we come together, a time that I do not take for granted, a time I do not take lightly. I feel like I feel like you're just a well, like WELL. And it's just like the more we talk, it's like it's just the deeper, the deeper, the deeper. Um, because he's deposited so much in you. And I feel like one of the first times like people are getting to see the depths and the riches of the glory that is hidden in you, because he says that there's treasure hidden in us. And so I'm excited. It, it be blowing me for real some days, because I'm like up here like, let's go to church, let's go.
Oh man,
But
I don't even be looking to go that way to make it, even though as I'm preaching, but I do, and my heart is set to see people well, but also see people empowered with the
yeah,
information, because there's so much information going around, but it ain't
hmm,
always necessarily the right information going around. So
absolutely.
I believe that we have to be just as passionate about making sure that people get both sides of it. And of course, people are going to do what they
Hmm.
will, but
Yeah.
I believe we have to still take the responsibility of, let's make sure we're putting out the right stuff, and got to take
Hmm.
care of the rest.
Absolutely. 100% agreed. Listen, it is always a pleasure. Make sure you head over to the YouTube channel at Kavad 365 Ministries. You to get episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. Make sure you rewatch if you've missed it. Make sure you're liking it, sharing it, subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification button so that you can always get the latest content. We're gonna keep doing this. You know, this is just the beginning. We have literally not even scratched the surface of being called. We have only begun to delve into one component, one obscurity, which is loneliness. And I'm just excited for all that God is doing and that He's going to continue to do. You can also go to www.kavad365.com to get all the content as well. But until next time, Godspeed and Shalom. It is our pleasure. We'll see you next Saturday, same time, same place. God bless.